What's up, everybody? My name is Max78, aka Brand. This morning I'm reviewing WrestleMania Night 1 and 2. I will say this was probably one of the most interesting WrestleManias for WrestleMania 40 in a long time. Every 10 years, WrestleManias are kind of interesting because you had WrestleMania 10 with Hulk Hogan, and you had WrestleMania 20 with Brock and um, Goldberg, which kind of had some other content to it as well. WrestleMania 30 with Daniel Bryan, and then WrestleMania 40, Cody finished his story. This was one of the few WrestleManias where I was like, okay, let's see how this goes. Because a lot of hype was behind it. A lot of hype. A lot of hype was behind both nights. And this was probably the one time where I'm just like, okay, let's see how this ends up. I will say this right now. WrestleMania Night 2, far and away better than WrestleMania Night 1. Just in terms of the urgency, the pacing, how it felt. I think night one was kind of weird because it started out really kind of slow and not really exciting. And then we thought it would pick up at certain points, but didn't really pick up at all and just kind of stayed that slow pace. But also, like they mentioned all night for WrestleMania 1, they said it was really cold. It just didn't, I think the fans kind of didn't feel like they were into it because there was nothing really getting into it. Um, But let's kick this off with the way this night one started. Night one started with Becky Lynch versus uh, Rhea Ripley for the Women's World Championship. Um, this match was really interesting because Becky had her book tour and all that. There wasn't a lot of heat behind this match. They didn't really heat this match up like that. I think people thought because we had a lot of segments on Raw and SmackDown in the weeks prior, but didn't really give us any reason to care about the match as much. Becky had her new book come out, and also that's kind of like this catalyst for the story as well because she kind of talks in her book tour and stuff about Rhea should be doing the stink face and all this kind of stuff. But ultimately, that aside, I think the match did really well of like psychology. Becky working over the arm, um, and Rhea using her power, even though Becky's working over the arm, she still has the power to pretty much control. Rhea has the power to control Becky pretty easily. Also, but I think the other thing too, like they they had a good match. The match flowed very well, and it's only the thing. I think the couple things you see was one, Becky hits a couple manhandles, slams at points, and Rhea kicks out pretty easily. Um, Rhea does this cloverleaf submission, but then she gets to the mat and does a body scissors as well alongside the core weave, which looks amazing. That was a really good spot of the night. Then we had Becky try a couple leg drops or manhandle leg drops from the top rope to try to get Becky Rhea down. Didn't really work. Finally, what ends the match is a riptide off the turnbuckle and then back, and then another one to the mat to hit the 1, 2, 3. Rhea retains the Women's World Championship. I'm not surprised Rhea retains. I think Rhea retaining was gonna be the. I thought Becky would win. I had in my predictions Becky winning because that's where the story was kind of leading. But Rhea retaining actually sets up something for Mike 2 that actually makes more sense. So we kind of see where that's going. Um, Overall, I would say the match was fun. I think it was interesting. I think it was a good match in ring. I feel bad. I also feel bad because they reported Becky had 102 fever 1 point. She had strep throat, so she was kind of dealing with a lot of stuff. She's been on a big tour, so I kind of can see that too. Um, but yeah, this match was interesting. It was fun. It opened the show very well. I think between that, the Triple H opening at the beginning, and then the new bumper we got for then now forever together, which looks really cool. I appreciate that. I think that's going to be something. The new era is here, and I think that's what they're trying to push between both nights. Ultimately, a new era in WWE across the board. Then we get to our second match. The second match was the 6-team ladder match, which was DIY, New Catch Republic, New Day, Awesome Truth, Theory, and Waller, and the Judgment Day. Both belts were on the line, and once one set of belts goes down, the other set of belts would have to come down eventually as well. So this match was a car crash. It was car crash TV, and I don't really think it was cool. It felt it felt cool at points with certain things. At certain points where they did. Um, let's see. We had a couple ladder spots that looked amazing. We had a table spot from I think Theory takes the bump. Yeah, Theory takes his bump off a ladder onto to the out the ring onto two tables. That looked pretty gnarly. Um, we do a hot tag spot with our Truth. That was funny, but I think that was just interesting. Truth get the hot tag. He kind of runs wild for a bit. He hits the five moves, doing like John Cena would. Hits the AA as well. Tries to pin. I think who do you try to pin? I think he tries to pin Priest, but Miz goes, you have to climb ladder, get the belts. Then DIY and Arson Truth work together and kind of try to help each other get the belts. That doesn't really work out. Theory and Lawler get the belts for the SmackDown side pretty easily. They don't really get a pump circumstance for it. The Raw belts are still there. Finally, Truth tries to climb one point, gets knocked down. Ultimately, what happens? JD McDonough comes down, tries to help Finn get up to the belts. They did mention on commentary, which is actually kind of good, that JD cannot get the belts himself. They have to do it. So ultimately, they explain the way um, the understanding of JD can't get the belts. Judgment Day has to get the belts themselves if they want to win. Unlike in the past, where like um, a couple people have done that in the past where they got the belts themselves without reason. Um, but then you had that spot, and then finally Truth gets some comeuppance on Damon Priest, and Truth climbs up to get the belts, and Awesome Truth gets the Raw Tag Team titles. Ultimately, I think this match is fun. There's too many people in the match, though. 12 people is a lot. I ultimately, if you're gonna, the ultimate thing was splitting the belts. They wanted to split the belts. That's fine. I think what you could have done, have three teams do the Raw belts, have three teams do the SmackDown belts. Get you the same thing. And I think also what helped was the fact that you had you give Theory and Lawler their heat for winning the belts for the SmackDown belts because I think that doesn't come across very well when they win the belts because everybody doesn't really care. But you also give Truth and them their cheers for winning the Raw belts, and I think they get the cheers at the end. They don't get they celebrate that. It's different dichotomies, but I don't digress from that at all. I think it's just another way of doing the match, and it's not even that bad. It was uh just kind of different. And I ultimately having the teams who won the belts win the belts is fine. I think Theory and Lawler will hold the belts for a little bit longer than Awesome Truth, but Awesome Truth will have Truth gets this moment at WrestleMania. He's never won a WrestleMania match. This is his first belt in WWE as well, so it's actually kind of just fun. Um, then we get Ray and Andrade versus Santos Escobar and Dominic Mysterio, with all the other players of both sides for the LWO and Escobar's group coming out as well. This match was just really fun. Like this match was fun, but still didn't have the heat it needed. And I think the thing is with this match too, Ray and Andrade did really well. Andrade hits his like fake out clothesline knee combo thing, which when he fakes the clothesline, hits the knee, that's just brutal. That's brutal. And I'll get out. Selena Vega gets involved at one point, hits a dive off the turnbuckle, and then Joaquin Wild hits that springboard like leaping jump to the entranceway. It looks amazing, and it also looks just kind of scary if he doesn't hit that right all the time. In the end, um, Ray. In the end, Dom tries to get a chair for Santos. These two guys come out. These two guys are basically, um, we don't. They look like luchadors. They have luchadors masks on. We really don't know much about them yet. But then we find out after they stop Dom from cheating using the chair, they beat up Dom. They and then Santos tries to do something, but Ray hits a 619 to win. So we end up having them win. And then we find out if it was Travis Kelsey or Jason Kelsey and Lane Johnson from both. Jason Kelsey was from Eagles Center. Lane Johnson is currently playing for the Eagles. It was a cool little spot. It kind of just set that up. That's the point that this match did set that up because they were teasing in the weeks. We heard news about Jason Kelsey probably going to be there, and the fact Jason Kelsey was going to be a part of this. There was no indication of that yet. this was your indication now because we're in Philly. They're going to do that at the pop for the fans. Cool. I think that's great. Um, Ultimately, I think the match kind of sets up something for later down the road. I think you want Ray and Dom later down the road, which will just be like a math kind of thing. Because Dom's been growing out here anyway, so we know that that's coming down the line, maybe, but how they're going to get there, we don't know. And also, they let Dragon Lee get destroyed by Santos group to get not being in the match. Carlito was unhappy that Ray didn't pick Carlito, he picked Andrade, all that kind of stuff. So I think Carlito's going heel as well, but we don't have those indications yet, but we see the teasers of those indications. Um, but yeah, it was a good match overall. I think those first three matches were fun. This is people are like, okay, so it's kind of building up. Then they think, okay, the next match, Jay versus Jimmy, brother versus brother was gonna be interesting. I will say this: the brother versus brother match, the video package for this match was awesome. The video package for the match was great. The match itself was kind of weird because it didn't really the feud between the two brothers doesn't really make sense if you don't understand. Well, Jimmy left the bloodline first, but then Jay left because he thought his brother, all this other stuff. And the way the match is set out, I think was cool, but it's a bunch of super kicks and just small things. Really doesn't have a lot of heat to it. And ultimately, Jay wins, which I assumed Jay would win. And I kind of thought Jay would have to win to make this make any sense. But ultimately, I think if you do a brother versus brother match, they don't always work out. The only exceptions I think work very well is Cody and Dustin, where they did it in AEW, which ultimately that was a different type. This is a different company, but also it worked out very well. I think you do Undertaker and Kane worked okay, and then Matt Hardy versus Jeff Hardy didn't work at all on WWE. I think the idea behind the story was cool, but you would have. I think you should have done. A lot of people talked about this, and one of my friends mentioned it. You should have had Rikishi come out and try to stop both of them, or he be discussed with referees, or something to have the family involved. Because no bloodline thing is involved at all. Solos with Jimmy when they come into the arena of night one together earlier in the day, but we don't see Solo at all in this match. So ultimately, it kind of feels like there was no reason to do this match with not little heat. And they had the build from Royal Rumble. They tried to do the standoff from Royal Rumble. Nobody really cared. Then they kind of let it go for a bit, and then brought it back up again halfway through before we got to Mania. But the main spots in this match were a couple super kicks. We get the Uso splash from Jimmy. He tries something. He tries like a couple other things. But Jay's over because they do the whole Jay like doing the hand thing up and down, which people love. And it it felt like the match had no heat because it was basically just a lot of super kicks and maybe punches back and forth. But outside of that, there was not much else in the way of like real heat for this match at all. Um, then we get the other women's match of the night. Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair, and Naomi versus Damage Control, which is Kairi Sane, Asuka, and Dakota Kai. Basically, this was the match that I think people wanted to see because they wanted to see how Jade was going to do in the Jade's entrance. So yeah, both entrances were really cool. I love the second entrance. I love the Damage Control entrance when they had all the geisha girls and the cherry blossoms looked amazing. Looked awesome. And I like the fact they used that in a way that's really fun. But also, I love Jade's, Naomi's, and Bianca's entrance because they're just on the pedestal. They're coming down. They have the same color gear. You have Naomi wearing this cool hat. You have Jade looking somehow like Cyberpunk 2077, which I'm playing right now, by the way. You just have this like futuristic look to all these ladies. It was really also awesome. And I think the thing was, I think a lot of people wanted to see Jade's entrance by herself, but hey, I like the fact that you had a tag, like a team entrance together. And I appreciate the fact that we've seen Jade up to this point just do a couple things. And the old saying is hide the negative, accentuate the positives. Well, her positives, her aura and her presence is something that you cannot match. They have made Jade feel like a star. Jade Cargill feels like a star more than I would have thought it would have been after coming out of AEW. But ultimately, the way this match is set up, Bianca's on the front. Bianca tries to beat up Damage Control. Damage Control gets most of the upper hand for a bit. Ultimately, Naomi gets worked over. Bianca gets in there, tries to do some stuff, doesn't really work out. And once Jade comes in there, Jade is just a powerhouse. And that's the thing about this. Jade's a powerhouse. She's hitting power slams, kicks, all this stuff. Bianca hits her hair whip thing where she takes her hair and it's actually her hair. That is true. It's her hair. And she does the whip thing with the hair, the end of her hair. Sounds amazing. Sounded like a whip you would hear for like horse riding or something. It sounded so crisp, which is so good. And then Jade hits her little underarm power bomb, underarm like face buster thing it was on Dakota for the 1 2 3, and does like a little pose thing. It was so good. Out of all the matches so far I've talked about, there's only the two I would say you want to go back and watch. I think the six team, 6 team tag ladder match. I think that's when you go back and watch this for the spectacle stuff. It does show off on Peacock very well. On even watching it. And I think the Jade match so far is what I would go back and watch because just to see her Jade and what she does and the women doing that together, it looked amazing. So then we get the next match, and this next match was something I really didn't know how to explain because it's ultimately something that I think nobody expected to be interesting. Sami Zayn versus Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship. Uh, I think this match was so interesting because I think a lot of people thought Sami wasn't gonna win. A lot of people didn't want Sami to be the final person in it, but ultimately they did it. I appreciate it. It was something different. Um, I do like the fact, and I did something very interesting with this. I do like the fact you did the understanding of, hey, Sami is coming in as the underdog. So he sees his wife and kid before walking to Gorilla. He talks to his kid. The kid's like looking ready for the music and everything. And then he walks to Gorilla. He's like kicking and punching little things backstage before he gets Gorilla. Then once he almost gets to Gorilla, uh, Kevin Owens is standing there and he hugs him and says, "Go do what you need to go do. Go do your thing." Um, and then he walks through the Gorilla and you see the tracking shot behind him. And once he walks out to the arena, you hear his music hit, all that kind of stuff. It was so good. Gunther's already just, Gunther's just, Gunther when Gunther comes out, he's just standing there stoic. Sammy's shadow boxing in the ring. It looks amazing. Um, this match was interesting because I think Gunther was basically just working out, pretty much beating up on Sammy for the most part of this. At the beginning of this, couple big boots, couple power bombs. He tries to get Sammy in. Sammy speakers are lit. At the basic point of this, once you get to the point where Sammy fires back up, and he fires back up, and once he fires up, hits the mat, fires up, fires up, fires up, and ultimately the thing was when he fires up, he looks, he's ready to get back at it. And the whole time before this, Gunther was taunting Sammy's wife and just kind of like saying things to her. It looked amazing. It looked fun how he does the taunting. And so Sammy hit this um what is Sammy does, or Gunther is about to go run to the corner and do something off the corner, but Sammy follows him, hits him with this huge haluva kick. But ultimately, before that, we get the move so Gunther goes back top rope. Sammy meets him up there. Does a couple punches. Then sets him up for a super. We thought it was a superplex. Not a superplex. He goes for the brain buster, and he hits a brain buster on Gunther and then 2 more haluva kicks after to get the win. Sammy wins the IC belt. And ultimately, one thing we also saw, Chad says before he gets up to the Gorilla, Chad says, "I'm not gonna be out there with you, but I do want a favor if you do win," which ultimately sets up the fact that Chad was gonna go after the belt at least once, But ultimately, Chad's whole thing, he wants to go after Gunther. He wants to go after Gunther because Gunther, made his kid cry, all that kind of stuff. So that story is still there. This match was interesting and fun, and I like the way they built Sammy up as an underdog. Where do you go from here? I don't know, because Sammy is not the kind of person to do um like I don't know what you do with the understanding of, okay, how do you make Sammy feel like a you know underdog champion continually fighting from underneath, and who's the first opponent going to be? Because I think Chad's not going heel. I don't see that happening because Gunther's still going to be heel. Ultimately, I think Chad beats Gunther. Gunther goes up towards the World Heavyweight Championship because I think that's going to be his next thing. Bash and Berlin coming around the corner. Now with Priest winning the belt, I think that's going to kind of set something in motion. Unless we have something change, but I'll talk about that when we get to night two. But ultimately, that match was fun. I think um, still the like still one of the coolest matches of the night, and ultimately I think really just makes it feel fun. Then we had our main event: Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins versus The Rock and Roman Reigns for night one. If Rock and Roman beat Cody and Seth, night two is Bloodline rules. This match was 45 minutes or 44 minutes from bell to bell. And this match was kind of slow at the beginning, but it told a story. And I think the thing is, I don't think it should have been 44 minutes ultimately, but basically it turns into a no DQ match for the most part, outside of the fact they go, or not no DQ, but no count out, kind of stuff like that. And the thing was, there's three spots I'll mention, and it's really kind of interesting. One, Rock says he don't want to count out, so he tells the ref, "You count us out, I will fire you." Basically, setting up the fact the ref can't do anything now. This match is basically going to be under bloodline rules anyway, for the most part. Two, Rock pretty much hits Cody below the belt, or itself below the belt, and once he does that, the ref apologizes to Cody because he can't do anything about it. And three, ultimately at the end, they both beat up on Cody and Roman, or Roman and Rock beat up on Cody and Seth. And then Roman accidentally spears The Rock at one point, trying to spear Cody because Seth pushed out of the way. Well, then at the end of the match, to rectify what happened, Rock's like, I want the pen. So Roman reluctantly gives Rock the tag. He gets the pen, and they beat Cody and Seth. Ultimately, those are the main story beats from the show. The match, I think that really kind of shows you what this match is about. It was long. It was interesting. I don't think I was surprised by anything of it. It made it fun, and I would really appreciate the fact that it was nothing of them trying to make sense of this. It was so good. Ultimately, as well, it kind of felt like they had a plan involved, and that plan was they wanted to work over Seth, and Cody's all by himself. Basically, nothing else will change it. But ultimately, the grade for night one, I would give a night one grade of like a B minus. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great. Last year, last year they did night one was the better of the two nights. This year, you'll see why I say night two is the better of two nights, and you'll see it very easily. The other thing that didn't really help night one, they kept talking about the weather. It was cold, I get it, but 55 degrees, not that bad. Also, I think the crowd was into it because if you're not getting them to cheer and make an excitement, they're just gonna kind of not cheer at all. So it felt like the crowd was into it at all for night one. But night two, here's where it picked up. Night two starts off with um night two starts off with uh Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship. This match was fun. The two entrances of both these men look amazing. Drew has this Scottish band that is from the Philly area. Seth has these like this band that's playing his song, and they look like wizards and all these like this like a Mardi Gras parade basically in Philly. Looks amazing. Um, Ultimately, this match is hits off with intensity right off the bat because you have Seth. The bell rings and Drew hits this Claymore kick for a 2 count, and then from there they're just going after each other. A couple different finishers, each both ways. Um, there's a couple Claymore kicks, there's a couple stomps. Seth Drew works over the back a bunch on Seth. Seth gets hurt with his knee, so he's working over the knee as well. It it has intensity, it has like fire, and it's ready to go. So then Drew hits a couple different or Seth hits a top rope stomp, that does nothing. Drew hits a Future DDT, he hits another big boot, he hits a couple other things. Uh, and to end up, Drew hits 4 Claymore kicks to finish out Seth Rollins to win the belt. 4 seemed like a lot. 3 should have been about the match you could have done with that. But 4, fine, you're trying to protect Seth. I get it. But when you get 4 Claymore kicks and ends up pinning Seth for the win, then CM Punk was on commentary, basically kind of just talking about things going on. Drew gets the belt and he celebrates the win all the crowds, and he goes over to his wife, gets on one knee, shoulders the belt, and he just embraces everything. Then he goes over to Punk. He goes on the announce table and basically tells Punk, I, I'm gonna end your career. I'm gonna do everything to you. I'm gonna make sure you don't have opportunity at this belt. And Punk's like, why are you doing this? You could be celebrating all this stuff, but yeah, you're coming at me. You know. Then we see Punk get up from the chair, take off his arm brace, hit Drew with it. That sets up Priest coming down to cash it, his briefcase. Priest comes down. Priest takes the briefcase, knocks it in Drew's head, almost throws it in the front row at that point, almost. Casts the briefcase in, and once he casts the briefcase in, he hits one stop of heaven to win the belt. He's your new WWE World Heavyweight Champion. That first match, what I just explained there, and I would say go watch the match for yourself because it's one of the better matches. It's a really good match. It starts off night 2 so well. It gives you that intensity and that fire, but also gives you the pacing of the show from this point on. The pacing of the show is fast paced. It has no let up from this point, and I think that's the thing because it works in their favor to have a start that's so quick and paceful, has a pace to it. Then we have the street fight, the last Final Testament versus the Street Profits, and Bobby Lashley. Bobby Ray Dudley is the special guest referee for this. Snoop Dogg's on commentary. Snoop Dogg putting this on commentary was amazing. I think him credit because Snoop Dogg on commentary just kind of makes it feel kind of interesting because he can have fun with it. He's better. He was better on commentary than Punk because Punk didn't really say much, but Snoop Dogg said a lot more. It's interesting the way he said things was just fun and interesting. So this match was a car crash in the beginning. Final Testament works over. The Street Profits at first. They get Street Profits get back on the front court, kind of beat up on Final Testament. Ultimately, B-Fab gets involved with Scarlett. Scarlett gets thrown through a table by B-Fab. She's laid out for the rest of the match. On top of that all, we do they kind of Bubba hits Bobby in the chest. It hits Ford in the chest. It hits Doc in the chest. And they say in 3, 2, 1, get the tables. That gets the crowd woken up. That was amazing. And then ultimately we do the table spot. We do the splash through the table, and I think it felt big time because once that happens, you hit the table spot, we hit the 1, 2, 3, and the Street Profits win the match, which I expected Street Profits to win. Street Profits about to win. It was just fun. It had fun energy. It was just them just going out there having fun with this. Even though the the build for this match wasn't great because House Husband was always on top for most part of it. This ending thing is so good. And I really appreciate the fact they had so much fun with it, and it was so like well done and very just the pacing felt better because unlike this, the ladder match didn't have a lot of pacing and a lot of good had a good action, but the pacing was weird. Here, the pacing felt like it made sense. Then let's get to the next match. The next match for this was the match I didn't really expect to do a lot, but it did it in a way which I was like, okay, you kind of built things up. AJ Styles versus AJ Styles versus LA Knight, and this match also gave LA Knight like they did like a technical wrestling match. It looked amazing. Um, LA Knight got worked over by AJ. AJ tries to get pulled on the forearm a couple times. One he gets blocked. The other he hits. They go work outside for a bit, and I throws AJ into the table at the beginning about 5-6 times. Ultimately, AJ tries to hit the front of the forearm again. LA Knight gets the knees up. Once he gets the knees up, he hits the BFT for the 1-2-3, and it felt like LA Knight needed this big win, and he got the big win he needed because he ultimately, for me, I think he has to get that win. That win of his, the win is him getting up towards the U.S. title or something like that. And ultimately, I think he's still hot. Fans still like him. Fans still enjoy him. He's just the hottest. He's one of the hottest guys in the company. Um, it was so good. Like I think this night, every match hit so well. And ultimately, LA Knight comes out first because he gives the lady that car that you can win, the Slim Jim car. And it ends up working out pretty well. It was just the whole pacing was amazing. Then we get the U.S. title match: Logan Paul versus KO versus Randy Orton. So Logan comes out first, and Logan comes out in this like prime monster truck looking thing, shoots off cool fireworks, looks really cool. Then, then KO comes out next. He comes out from the backstage area, coming through to Gorilla. He sees Sammy. Sammy says, "Go get yours now," and they hug. And then Sammy comes out. KO comes out to his music. He waits a second because he looks at the Logan Paul truck, kind of gives it a crotch shot. Walks over to his golf cart, drives the golf cart down, and then Randy's music hits. Randy's music hits. He comes back. He reverses back up the ramp. And he says, "Randy, get on." And then Randy does get on. And it's funny because Randy and KO starts flooring it down the ramp, which is kind of funny. He floors it down the ramp, and Randy's like, "Slow down there, slow down there." It was so much fun. It was so funny. It was so good. This match was basically Logan gets worked over by RKO by KO and Randy for a bit. Logan tries to use the brass knuckles. Randy stops it. Randy has the brass knuckles to um, Randy hands the brass knuckles to the ref. Logan hits a couple different moves to get involved, get back at Randy and KO. KO hits. Does he hit a stunner? He hits a stunner on Logan, but then Randy hits a RKO on KO. Ultimately, this ends up where Logan hits this giant frog splash to KO, but ultimately before that, Randy also hit a KO on Logan, and Randy's about to get covered, but then Randy gets pulled out by the Prime Bottle that was with Logan. This Prime Bottle is a Twitch streamer. We find out later the Twitch streamer was trying to help Logan. The guy in the Prime Bottle gets beat up by Randy, gets targeted for himself. That's where we see KO hit the splash. That splash ends up But that splash ends up winning Logan the match, retaining. Ultimately, I think Logan was going to retain because they're going to be going to Cleveland for SummerSlam. He loses the belt there. I think he loses that belt to LA Knight. That's where we get the LA Knight thing. That's where LA Knight gets crowned, all that kind of stuff. Um, I think about this match. This match was like the Gunther one, where the storytelling was really good in this, and the storytelling was good, but also Logan's a really good wrestler. Logan, you can't deny Logan's came in this business and worked out really well because I think Logan has really kind of embraced what's going on. He's not like most of the people where they don't embrace it. He's embraced it fully, wholeheartedly, and just got hit the ground running perfectly. Um, I enjoyed it. It was so much fun. Then we got Bailey versus Io for the um, I think it's the or Universal Women's Championship, something like that. I think is what it's called. And basically, the entrances for this, Bailey got a cool entrance. I like Bailey's entrance. The video package for Bailey and Io looks amazing. Um, Bailey's entrance for this was like this Egyptian theme kind of thing. Then it kicks into her old music. Sounds amazing. Her gear looks amazing. Both their gear look amazing. This match was Io working over Bailey's leg, but also Io Io kind of stays in front, but when Io stays in front, she gets kind of cocky at points, and Bailey fights back, but Io puts her back down again. Io tries for a standing moonsault, a moonsault, and another moonsault, and doesn't keep Bailey down. Ultimately, Bailey tries for the rose plant, or she goes for I think the belly to belly, then the rose plant. Io out flips out of the rose plant for a counter, literally stands on her feet, which is so good. So good. Looks amazing when she does it. Then Io hits Bailey gets her back down, hits the insane her elbow, her Macho Man Randy Savage elbow type thing. Then the rose plant for the 1, 2, 3. Bailey is your new SmackDown Women's Champion, Universal Women's Champion. That was amazing. I appreciated it. It was so good. It was a good match. It had a better story than Becky versus Rhea, and I think that was the thing. All the stories I've told you right now have better heat things than night one, and that's the crazy part. That shouldn't be the case, but it is because I think they understood what they had to do to make night two more fun. And night two, the crowd was into all this. This is I think out of all the women's matches, we only had three. There should be more, but with the three women's matches we had, I think Bailey, Io, then the six woman tag, and I think Becky Rhea is the last one I would put on that list. Ultimately, all three do their thing. Not gonna not gonna say anything about that. Like it it was so good. Then we get to the main event. Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship. Roman beats Hulk Hogan's record of most Mania main events, or kind of thing. And then they also talk about that Roman's this is his 31st defense in a long list of defenses, and then Corey mentions also beating Cody last year. And then on top of it all, I think the thing was I think they really set this up well. They set this up so well. This match out starts out no real bloodline rules things, nothing really out of the ordinary. Normal match. Roman just works over Cody, and Cody fights back at points. They go on the outside for a bit. They wrestle in the crowd. They use tables. They use chairs. They use a lot of stuff. And ultimately, what kicks this off? What kicks this off ultimately? I think what really kind of puts in that direction is the fact that you see um, the when they go out to the outside, basically Roman trying to keep stay in control, win everything and just kind of be himself. But ultimately, um, Cody uses the table when they go to the crowd, puts them on the table, hits the I think a crossroads or a cutter on the table. Table doesn't break. They get back to the ring. Roman tries to use the table, doesn't really work. Cody kind of gets off the table, ends up saving himself. But then we hit one crossroad. Then we hit another. Cody kicks out. Roman tries to spear it, doesn't really work. All these things, Cody keeps fighting back and fighting back and fighting back. Superman punch happens. Cody fights back. Basically, with this, the back half of this was the most interesting. We see as Cody tries to hit one more crossroads, Jimmy comes in through the super kick to Cody. But ultimately, what happens after that? Jay comes in. Jay stops that from happening immediately. Jay and his brother go up the ramp, start fighting each other. They go through a table off the stage, or go off the stage into a table. They're both out. Then Cody gets back. Cody fights back. Roman fights back. Ultimately, then Solo comes in there. Solo, don't see Solo come in, but Cody knows something's coming up. So he looks over his right shoulder, thinking it's Solo on that side. Nope, Solo was left. And Solo hits spike to Cody, and he tells him, "Get up, finish it, finish the story." And then ultimately, after that happens, Cena's music hits. Cena finishes off Solo, but ultimately, after that happens, Rock comes out. Rock beats up on Cena and drops Cena with the AA. So it's kind of a back and forth thing. Rock's like, okay, he kind of talking mess to Cody. Ultimately, that ends up you hear the lights go down, you hear the gong, and then once you hear that gong, and you don't hear the music start for the Undertaker, but you kind of know what's happened. Undertaker teleports to the ring. He's behind the Rock. He hits the Rock with a choke slam, and he teleports out. And then ultimately, that lets everybody out of the ring that was going to be involved. And then you see Cody hit 3 crossroads for the 1, 2, 3. The ending of that match is probably the best part. The beginning was kind of slow. Ultimately, kind of has a better beginning than the tag match, but I think ultimately the storytelling, the overbooking, the way they booked it at the end looks amazing. And I love the fact they did that. It was so much fun. Um, I think Cody winning the belt the storytelling was so well. You see Randy, you see Brandy come in the ring, his mother, his sister, I think grandkids of his from Dusty, um, uh, KO, Sammy, Randy Orton, LA Knight, CM Punk, Triple H, Bruce Pritchard, everybody in the ring just celebrating. And you know, it was so fun, but it also had an urgency to it. Urgency that really doesn't really much matter outside of the fact you want to do something kind of urgent. Um, uh, I think this second night was just so well done. I think the second night gets like an A minus. Like it's on that level because the second night had urgency, had passion. People were ready to go, and the crowd was so into it. The thing the crowd was into the most, I think, was Bayley versus Io and Seth versus Drew when the cash in happened at the end. Those two things right there just made that night for you. The beginning and the ending were the big things, but I think the EO match in the middle with Bayley was just fun. I can't say enough that this was the most interesting WrestleMania. I'm looking forward to Raw tonight. Raw's gonna be interesting to see what they do next. What stories, how you end certain stories, how you start others. Going into Saudi Arabia with King and Queen of the Ring, which they didn't announce. They did announce we're also getting Backlash in less than like a couple weeks. So Backlash in France will be interesting. How they're gonna set that. Um, uh, but I think the second night of WrestleMania just felt like they were ready. They're going to show that this is a new era at WWE. The Triple H era, as they called it, Paul Levesque era, whatever you want to say. This is WWE changing to a new regime and a new guard for the years to come. Because you have Steph come out at the beginning and say, talk about that, and then you've had CM Punk said in the pre-show, you've had other things said in the pre-show. Um, I I appreciate all this. I cannot wait to see where WWE heads from now for Backlash into SummerSlam. What all that stuff's gonna happen, but I loved it. I loved watching it in the moment. I had texted my friends throughout the night as well. It was one of the best shows I think we've had in a long time, and I I think now you're gonna have a lot of new fans get into wrestling WWE because of the way they've built the show. But I would say ultimately, if you're gonna watch one of the two nights, night two is the one you should watch. There are some good things on night one. Night one has the better. I think night one has the Gunther match, which is really good, and I think the tag. I think the like I said, I think the ladder match is also very good. The ladder match is good just because it's just something different. Um, but ultimately, both nights are worth watching. But that was my review of night one and night two of WrestleMania 40. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. Let me know what y'all did y'all watch it. What was your best match of the night? Like I said, my match of the night, Bailey Io. I think Gunther, Sammy, and then my third would probably be Cody Roman. I think that Cody Roman match at the end was so much fun. That was probably the three for me. Um, but yeah, night two overall is just kind of that one you should watch. But I'll be back on Wednesday. I'll probably do the Raw review Wednesday. If I don't do it Wednesday, I'm gonna do it Saturday. I'll talk about both shows together. I might just make it a Saturday thing where I talk about Raw and SmackDown. Just have it for both. And then I will just go up on Saturday morning like I normally do. So that'll be a Saturday morning thing. So you have that. But I do thank you for watching. Hope you did enjoy and hope you for next time. See you.